Hey, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is your weekly tarot card reading. And for this week's reading, I am going to be using the Modern Love Tarot by Ethony. And I have 3 things I want to tell you about before I get into this reading. So I'm going to try to make it quick. So I have open registration on my 4-week tarot course called the Daily Tarot Girl's Guide to Reading Tarot for Others. That course is starting really soon. And if you want to sign up, I'm going to put the link below this video if you want to check it out. I'm also having a scholarship contest over on my blog over the weekend. So if you want to win, I've got 2 spots that I'm giving away, 2 scholarships. So if you would like to win a scholarship for my course, I'm going to put the link to my scholarship contest as well. And I just realized I have to raise my camera a little bit. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be doing a live event on YouTube this weekend. So on Sunday at noon, I'm going to be doing a tarot reading party. So I'm going to be live on my YouTube channel doing free 1-card readings. So if you want to come and chat with me and have me pull a card for you, it's this Sunday at, I think that's April 3rd, at noon Pacific time. All right, so let's get into the reading. So we've got 3 cards. Each card is going to represent a, oh, and I should mention that my YouTube live, I'll put the link to that below this video as well. So my intention with this reading is that these 3 cards are going to give us kind of an overview, a snapshot of the week ahead. And we have 9 of Swords for the beginning of the week, so like Monday, Tuesday-ish. And this is an interesting one. 9 of Swords is interesting. It's all about your mind and the way that you perceive things and think about things. And the 9 of Swords really represents some of the worst things our minds can do, like going over and over certain details, reminiscing about things that went wrong, things that we've lost, things we didn't do quite right. Or even going into the future and worrying about, worst case scenario. So here we have, it looks like she's burning like love letters, and there's a picture of a heart. So there is this like feeling of being kind of let down or even heartbroken with this card. What I always say when I see this card is that the appearance of the 9 of Swords is there to basically to invite you to change your relationship with your mind and with your thoughts. And if you're suffering from anxious thinking or thinking like, the kind of thinking that sort of spirals out of control, like you're doing okay and then you think one little anxious thought and then that leads to another and another and another. And before you know it, you're in this downward spiral of anxiety or negative thinking. And the 9 of Swords is saying, hey, look at this, notice it, because if you look at the swords, I remember someone pointed this out to me years ago, that the swords actually can represent a ladder out of that thought spiral. So you can rise above your thoughts. And this is all about perspective. It's about being able to step back and look at your thoughts as if they're not your own. So as if someone else is thinking them. And this is kind of, this is a meditation technique where you sort of, you become the observer. You notice your thoughts without really attaching to them. You're like, oh, that's interesting. And that's really what this card is inviting you to do. And that by doing that, we create space for ourselves. We, a certain amount of space opens up in our minds and our hearts so that we don't feel so constricted by our worries, our anxieties, or even our regrets about the past. So definitely focusing on, I want to say, nurturing your mind and being kind to yourself when it comes to your thought patterns, and taking a moment to recognize what kinds of thought patterns you're getting sucked into as it's happening. Let's look at the middle of the week. So Wednesday, Thursday-ish, we have Four of Swords. And I like that this card has come after the Nine of Swords, because the Four of Swords is a much calmer, relaxed kind of energy. And it's what happens when we let our minds rest. Our minds are often very active. And even when we don't want to be thinking, we can't always turn our minds off. Like, I have this happen to me all the time when I'm trying to fall asleep. I'll be so tired in the evening, and then I'll lie down to sleep and my mind's just like buzzing. And so the Four of Swords really illustrates what can happen when we finally drop our thoughts for a moment, when we allow our minds to be still. And sometimes this takes a lot of meditation, but sometimes it just happens spontaneously. Like, I feel like this happens to me when I'm in the shower or the bath, or if I'm out for a run or doing some kind of like repetitive activity, like doing a jigsaw puzzle, or, you're doing a walk or a jog, or you're swimming, something like that. I'll find that just spontaneously my mind will be clear. Usually not for very long, but it's enough that it's enough to kind of recharge my batteries. So Four of Swords midweek is actually encouraging you to create space in your schedule if you can. And I often will also say this is about kind of having me time, or time, not necessarily me time, but just time away from the nonstop noise and busyness and activity of day-to-day life. So this is where you might remove yourself, maybe go off to a room by yourself, go out somewhere like a park or somewhere in nature, take like a mini retreat from your friends, family, and just give yourself permission to not do anything, to just be still and recharge. Maybe you're just gonna lock yourself in your room and just read for a couple hours, or maybe not a full 2 hours, maybe just for 20 minutes or something. But that's kind of what's needed this week. You want to make sure you take breaks. Let's look at the end of the week. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have Four of Wands. So this is interesting. We have another four. I love the fours. The fours illustrate what happens when the energy of whatever suit it represents is kind of still and calm and stable. So Four of Swords is what happens when your mind becomes still and calm. Four of Wands is what happens when the energy and the passion and the action that's associated with wands just kind of takes a break and becomes still. So the Four of Wands represents, I like to say it represents like hearth and home. It also represents a space where the Four of Swords is about your mental space. Four of Wands is more about, I want to say more about physical space, but also energetic space. And if you think that the wands, the element that the wands are associated with is fire. And an out-of-control fire can be very destructive, but the Four of Wands is like a fire that is contained. And a fire that is contained is cozy, it's comforting. We can get warm by that fire. We can cook food on it. It makes a house a home to have a fire burning in the wood stove or the fireplace. So here we see people dancing. It looks like it might be a wedding, some kind of celebration. I often associate Four of Wands not just with a peaceful, happy home life, but also community, your connection to the community and mutual celebration, getting together to celebrate things. So what does it mean for us this week? I think that the weekend is a good time for celebration, for connecting with your community, connecting with friends and family, but also paying attention to the energy in your home and doing what you can to create a peaceful, grounded, calm energy in your home, because your home is the place where you go to recharge your batteries. And so if the energy in your home is off, it can throw off all other areas of your life. So that's really important to have the energy in your home to be, grounded and calm and peaceful. All right, so we have the 9 of Swords, the 4 of Swords, and the 4 of Wands here. This is a really interesting spread. And I think it's interesting that we have kind of this sort of feeling of heartbreak and disappointment in the first card, but by the end of the week, it kind of all comes together. Whatever we're struggling with at the beginning of the week, we figure it out. And it's almost like less is more this week. Sometimes when we have problems or issues, we want to fix them and we want to get in there and we think we have to take action and to make changes and to do this and to do that. The 4 of Swords is actually saying, you know what, maybe stepping back and just not doing too much is more helpful. Like getting out of your own way, because sometimes we can make things worse by meddling and making changes. 4 of Swords is saying, before you take action on anything, just step back, give yourself room, give yourself space to catch your breath, to let your thoughts settle, but before you start making changes and taking action. And then when we get to the 4 of Wands, there is a sense of peacefulness about the weekend, which feels really positive. So I think for many of us, we will have a peaceful weekend. If that doesn't look like it's in the cards for you, if you think, no, there's no way that this weekend's going to be peaceful, the 4 of Wands advises you to pay attention to your physical space and what kind of attention you give to your physical space will have a ripple effect in other areas. So if you're worried about, if you're going through a lot of conflict or struggles or stress, start with your home and the places that you spend the most time in, and ask yourself, what can I do physically with this space that would be more supportive of me energetically? So what I've done for myself is I love crystals. So I have crystals around my workspace and where I sleep. And then I also have plants around my workspace as well. And I find that really helps with the energy. But you might think of something different, completely different. You might start saging your home more often or something like that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this reading helpful. And check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'll put the link below this video. And make sure that you check out my live event this Sunday and my course, my upcoming course, and my scholarship contest as well. All the links will be below this video. So thanks for watching and have a great week.